Rhino Capra Axles Part 2. Y'all didn't like the depth of review last time and had some questions about why I don't like these. So let's talk about it a little more. All right, I will preface all of this by saying that there is a reason that I don't want to use these axles, and I covered this in the last video, but a lot of y'all missed it. It's the width of them. The reason why I told them not to send them to me is that I will not use them in any of my builds. I don't like Capra axles anymore, period. I will go with something that is a little bit more narrow, so I'm not going to use them. What I think we should do though, y'all said this, is do a giveaway. So if you post down below, we'll let this run for about 4 weeks and then we will select a winner. All you got to do is post down below. I don't care if you're not even a subscriber. So do you want to win these axles that I don't want? Then there you go. Post down below. So why do I not like these axles besides the width? So maybe y'all haven't been in the market as long as I have, I understand. And one thing that I've seen over and over and over again is aftermarket axles. Not necessarily being terrible, but being just slightly off standard in some ways to where it doesn't work with any other aftermarket parts and it also doesn't work with stock parts. So what about these axles? I mean, on first glance, they're absolutely not bad. For a $250 pair of axles, it's probably not bad. However, if you read in the comments of the last video, there was a lot of people that said that they broke their axle shafts. The shafts that go from here to here, specifically, that's what we're talking about. You can't buy them. They say on the website that they're available, but they're not available anywhere. So if you break an axle shaft, you're SOL on these axles. That's the biggest reason why I don't like aftermarket axles, unless it's a company that has established good aftermarket support for their own things. So there's that. If I was going to choose aftermarket axles and not run a stock axle on a setup, I'm going to use Vanquish or Super Shafty. I'm going to use those two. Now, are these a clone of one of those? Or the half shafts maybe going to fit? Yeah, maybe. But if it's not made at the same time in the same factory with the same tolerances, you're going to have problems. There's going to be issues to where the axle wants to float in a weird spot as compared to where your pivot center is. Or let's say you get a ball bearing stuck in your outer piece right here. Your knuckle, your weighted portal cover. Well, what do you do then? You can't get parts for this. And yeah, sure, you can probably email Rhino if they're still around whenever that happens. Certainly not trying to say that they're a fly-by-night company, but I have seen enough companies come and go that make parts and they just kind of like, they hop from part to part to part to part. They're not an actual factory themselves, which Rhino's just a brand. Hey, for the most part, Holmes is just a brand. I'm not saying that's bad, but when a company hops from one thing to another continuously, you can pretty much be guaranteed that they will not support their old parts long term. And I've seen this particularly with axles over and over and over again through the years. So I have my prejudice against aftermarket axles. So if you want to win these, just know that if you break them, you may not be able to find parts long term. Now, the differential should be standard for the Capra. Your portal gears should be standard for the Capra. This rear axle should be standard for your shafts. And since there's no steering on there, you know, if you break a shaft, you can probably throw a normal Capra shaft in there. And there's aftermarket from all sorts of different companies. But again, if you choose a different company for your aftermarket parts on your aftermarket axles, the tolerances may be different and you may have some fitment issues. And so be ready to do a little bit of filing or do a little bit of this and that just to make sure that it works. You know, it just goes on and on. The tolerances on parts from different vendors made at different times from different factories is always going to be something that we have to deal with. So that's my biggest gripe against aftermarket axles in general. I don't want to put these on my rigs, number one, because they're Capra width. I don't want that anymore. And number two, getting parts for them is going to be an issue long-term in my opinion. This is just my opinion. But as you can tell, it's kind of a strong opinion. Now, I didn't talk about this in the last one, but I was looking over this and I saw how they were assembled. The geometry on the links on this is, in my opinion, terrible. Absolutely terrible. If we use this for our upper link on front, I'm pretty sure it's, yeah, that's the one. it's really high. The roll center on here, even in your lowest position, your roll center is going to be pretty high. In the highest position, they should even offer that, honestly. Your roll center is going to be so high that your axles are going to swing back and forth. It's probably a very small gripe that I shouldn't talk about, but, or is this the front? This is the riser link. There's the rear link. Where do we mount? Let me look at a stock Capra real quick. All right, so stock Capra, you can see the links. We've got the outer lowers right there, and then your inner uppers are right there. That isn't a link position on these. So if you did use them on a Capra, you're gonna be messing with your geometry. They give this as your option. You're gonna be, I mean, it's so freaking tall. Oh, it's a freaking shark fin. Yeah, so the positions that they give you on here, and just making sure I'm not mistaken that, yeah, it's so tall. The positions that they give you on here are not only going to screw up your roll center for a stock rig, but even for an aftermarket rig that you're building yourself. This is, I don't like it. Let me just say, I don't like it. You're pinching it for one. You're going really, really narrow right here, and that's going to change your roll center. It's also going to change your anti-squat, especially having the ability to move your links up so high. It's just obscene. It's just obscene. So I don't want to hate on them too much, but I've seen this time and time again in so many different ways, and I got to call it like I see it. So they're not for me. Maybe they are for you. So you have a chance to win them. And in the meantime, let's take them apart real quick. I want to see. I did read the website, and it says that it has hardened gears in there. I believe it. I know I was ranting about plastic gears last time because I had come across some aftermarket axles that had plastic portals in them. So, you know, my bad for not checking. That's not the right size. I was hoping it just wasn't loose. Also keep in mind that the one screw that I took out during the last video was stripped. It was cross-threaded. So, oh yeah, this one's real tight. Tight enough I'm gonna have to redo my wrench. Yeah, so there's some, hey, I can't redo the wrench with the size that I need to redo it with. Where's my other wrenches? Maybe I got the two still. Have I lost the two? No, I didn't lose the two. Here we go. Yeah, so I have seen some aftermarket axles, the Capra in particular, that came with plastic gears in them. And yeah, I wasn't saying that these did. I was just saying that you never know what's on the inside. And even if these are hardened, it isn't a guarantee of tolerance. It's not a guarantee of them being hardened properly, or, you know, under hardened, over hardened. It is a slight gamble. And of course, even with name brand that I would trust, you can still break parts. I can still break parts, although honestly, I haven't broken parts in a long time, unless I'm trying to, really. There is a level of understanding how not to break a rig, you know, when to back off, what kind of driving will break. No thread lock in that, by the way. All right, so they're definitely plastic. It looks like Capra spec on here. They're greased, that's a good sign. They appeared to be hardened, at least case hardened. They are made of steel, so it seems. So, first look, hey, not bad. Lack of thread lock on these is, you're gonna have to thread lock. It's a metal housing. You're gonna have to take these all apart, thread lock, put them back together. So, just for a warning for whoever gets these. Otherwise, you know, the finish on them, honestly, the ball mill on this really does, I don't like it. No. If you're gonna use a ball end mill to finish a flat surface. Don't have it wandering so much. I don't know if it was their speeds or their feeds. I'm not even sure if the camera can pick that up, but the finish is pretty atrocious on those, especially for 250. Now, if these were the like $100 axle sets, I wouldn't say a word about the finish other than saying you're getting what you pay for. But for that price for these, the finish on that, it looks like ripples on the water. Like they again, I think the speeds and feeds were just off for using that ball end mill, so it was like skipping around on there, because there's obviously it's not straight mill lines that are showing up. It's almost like cross hatching that is not done well. So yeah, I mean, I'm here to complain about these axles, so I may as well complain fully, I suppose. All right, let's see about this. Oh yeah. Shimming on these. If we pull the pinion out, okay, they got a C-clip on here, which is kind of weird. That's going to be a spot for braking with higher power, because it's necked down right there. There's already barely enough meat on a 5mm shaft. They necked it down to 4mm right there, so if you do have a pinion brake, it's going to be right there. Mesh does not feel great. We're pulling, we're pushing. There is some in and out, so if you want these to last, you're probably going to have to shim them, but the mesh doesn't feel great. Sorry, people that like these axles. Although in the comments, there was a lot of people that didn't like these axles. Saw one guy had broken 3 of them in a row, couldn't get replacement parts. So again, I just wanted to explain why I was harsh on these, because a few of y'all seem to take, I don't know if offense is the right word, but you took issue with me not giving them a fair shake. Hey, I'm not going to go out on the rocks. Honestly, even if I did go out on the rocks, I'm probably not going to break them myself, because I know how to drive without breaking parts. So, all right, why are you not coming out? What am I missing? Besides a brain right now. It's, Oh, I see. This is the type where the gear is held in. So our cross shafts. Yeah. So the ball bearings and everything are part of this third member. The ball bearings hold our center, so I'm going to actually have to blow this all apart to get it out. At this point, I'm not really interested in doing all that. It seems to run smoother when this isn't bolted in. Again, no Loctite. You will need to Loctite these before you run them, because metal on metal screws, metal screws in metal housings, it will come loose. It will come loose. All right, I got to loosen this one. So there seems to be a lot of float on this. There's nothing to positively engage it other than the screws. As far as assembly of an axle, that is not a good thing. You want more than just screws to align it, because then you're relying on the tolerance of your screw holes and the tolerance of your screws to center everything. Again, this weird machining that's like, you can probably hear it with this. It looks like ripples on a water, or it honestly looks like a really bad feed and speed combination that has caused skipping and galling as they are machining them. All the flat surfaces look great, shot peened as well before anodizing, so they've got a really nice finish. But all of these off-angle surfaces, like this flat surface, when they machine it in whatever fixture, it looks great. Or I guess it probably would have been like this in the fixture, but all these off-angle surfaces. So that one looks great, that one doesn't, that one doesn't, that one doesn't, that one doesn't. That looks terrible. I'm gonna complain about it now. Y'all got me on this. Y'all wanted a real review of these. So I'm not gonna go run outside on the rocks with these, because I'm not gonna put enough time to break them, and I'm gonna be easy enough on the parts, because I really don't like rebuilding my rigs, and I'll know when to let off. So I'm probably not gonna be the guy to test this unless I'm going out there to try to break them, in which case the same people might not like me because I went out there trying to break them. And you know, if you want to break something and that's your goal, then you're gonna do it. Let's just check this for Loctite while we're checking. Because if you're going to win these, I want to make sure you know what you're getting yourself into. Yeah, I don't have the size for that handy. I hid it from myself somewhere. Oh well. Unless this is it. That's it. Let's look. So these are the ones that really need Loctite here. And there's no Loctite. They were also over tightened. Oh man. It's like on the verge of stripping. That sucks. So I won't go any further. It is what it is. Yeah, so there we go. I'll Nah. I'll call it good there. I'm not gonna go any further. The people that don't like what I'm saying about these aren't gonna like any more of what I have to say. And the people that do like what I'm saying, because some of y'all really like that review, you can tell that I have my biases, certainly. It's nothing against the brand. It's absolutely nothing against the brand itself. It is just that, number one, I'll recap, getting aftermarket parts for these is going to be a problem unless they specifically see this video and decide, hey, we're going to offer all the parts for these. You're not going to be able to get parts. And the portal covers there may or may not be standardized. Just little things like tolerances of how the knuckles fit, the tolerances of how the shafts go in, the fact that these are not standard Capra shafts on the front, the offset pumpkin. Knockoff of the VP offset ones, I'm not sure, so y'all let me know in the comments if you have these and have found shafts that work, but also let me know in the comments if you have these and broke them and couldn't find shafts, because that's what I saw in the other video. And again, the feedback that y'all have in the video is just as valuable, if not more valuable, than what I have to say about this. The experience of hundreds of people in the comments is much more than just one guy like me, for sure. So yeah, number one, replacement parts. Yeah. Number two, well, I don't like the Capra width. That's not really an issue for people that like the Capra width. And what was number three? I don't remember now. I sidetracked myself enough. Just general tolerances. That's really what I would say is a number three. General tolerances of anything aftermarket coming from factories. Even Vanquish, let's say. The tolerances of Vanquish parts fitting on Vanquish parts is going to be different than Vanquish parts fitting stock. Now, Vanquish attempts to have everything fit stock and vice versa, back and forth, as much as possible. Except for, you know, if they have an offset pumpkin or something like that. Obviously, the stock axle shafts aren't going to fit from a Capra. But companies that specialize in machining parts and are actually manufacturers or can have a really good relationship with their manufacturers, they can control those tolerances better. And if they're there for the long term, they learn over time and you don't have to worry about that. But let's say I have these and then I have some other aftermarket Capra parts on my Capra or whatever, knuckle weights or, you know, what have you. Another set of aftermarket axles. The potential for me to crossbreed the parts and actually keep the thing running is extremely low, extremely low. So that's a really big concern that I have with any aftermarket part. But axles are the worst part in the industry, absolutely the worst as far as non-standardized stuff and weird tolerances between different manufacturers, to the point to where I've just stopped trying. I'll be honest, I've just stopped trying to pursue any sort of aftermarket axle unless, again, it is Vanquish or Super Shafty. Those two brands I trust. I've worked with them enough. If there is an issue, there's literally somebody that I can just call and say, hey, this is up. Let me make some measurements for you. Let me show you what's up. Oh yeah, and the roll center on these, the link geometry on these, not impressed. I would not want to run them just based off of that, even if I wanted to run Capra stuff. So having that really tall riser on there, it's not going to work with stock Capra geometry to begin with. Maybe on the rear, yeah, the rear axle with that tall riser, it could actually help, but you don't want an aluminum axle on the rear if you have a plastic on the front. In my opinion, I don't even want aluminum on the rear. I only want aluminum on the front for a forward weight bias for almost all of my rigs. I keep plastic on the back, it slides better, it's lighter, etc., etc. Things that really aren't part of this video. So there you go. I recapped for you. I really wanted to let y'all know why I have my biases. I think that probably clears the air a little bit, and if you don't like that I don't like these, then you can certainly post down below and have a chance to win them, because I'm not even gonna waste my time installing them. That's kind of the big thing for me, is that I don't really have a whole lot of time to play with my toys. And so when I do play with my toys, I want to make sure that it's going to be with parts that I'm not worried about long term. I don't want to have to replace these down the road with something else, dealing with the weird geometry and, you know, getting around that and then having to replace them again with something else down the road that I can get parts for that hopefully wouldn't have weird geometry. Oh, don't forget these. Don't forget these. The person who wins these axles will need these parts. So, there you go. The Rhino axles. The Rhino Capra Axles from Rhino RC. You can find them on their website. Actually, well, you can find them there. You can't buy them there, but as of this time, it looks like about $250 for a set if you want to get them for yourself. And in the meantime, post down below. We will enter you into the giveaway, and somebody else that appreciates them more than me can certainly have a crack at them. So, if you have any questions, post them down below. I'll do my best to get to them. And as always, thanks for tuning in. Have a great day. You've made it to the end of the video. Hopefully that means you liked what you saw. If you want to help out the channel, you can like, subscribe, and definitely comment down below. We would like to hear new ideas from you, so be sure you let us know what you'd like to see. There are some other suggestions probably floating by my head right now that you can check out, and otherwise we appreciate your support and your help growing the channel.